Well, at the end of last week, we finally decided to just do one tactic for the rest of the season, and that was a slightly up-tempo version of the Buxton base. And since then, we've actually won quite a few games, so much so that if we pick up 2 more today against Magdeburg and Mainz, we could even have a late season push for promotion up to the Bundesliga. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 43 of Rookie to Royalty here on Sean Does FM with Jan Regensburg. I hope you're doing well. And come up today, we've got Magdeburg away and their Mainz, that one at home off the back of a little bit of a gap with an international break. If we can pick up wins in both these games, all of a sudden, we're not without a chance of playing in at least that promotion relegation game to try and make our way up to the Bundesliga. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. But this does come off the back of the end of last week, where I did some tactical cooking off the back of the win to break, albeit not that much cooking. We just decided for a slightly up-tempo version of the Buxton base, but with a few different shapes, a 4-4-2, a 4-2-3-1, as well as a 4-3-3 to be fair. That's all we've needed to use so far. We probably could change those if we needed to, and our form since then has been pretty good. We did pick up a loss against Holstein Kiel, but then a win over Nuremberg. Unfortunately, off the back of that Nuremberg win, we did then lose to Dynamo Dresden thanks to a deflected goal at a Forkel in the second half. That was with the 4-2-3-1. So it wasn't a great start off the back of that Nuremberg win, and also before then getting the job done over Arminia Bielefeld with the 4-3-3. But since then, we have been very good, starting again with a 4-3-3 when we took on Elversberg to be fair. Those guys are pretty rubbish, and thankfully we picked up a 2-1 win, just enough there to hold on off the back of a late goal to Lee Joncourt. And then some slightly more impressive results. We picked up here a 1-0 win thanks to a very late goal to Aaron Ramsey with our 4-2-3-1 as he came on at left wing for Max Meyer. Thankfully, did the job for us there off the back of a Charlie Allen assist. So that was a very useful 3 points. To be fair, did get quite lucky in that game, because I think this was the one in the first half, indeed it was, where a penalty did get saved from Ognjen Lukic, who did pick up the man of the match. To be fair, a little bit fortunate, get revenge there on Hertha Berlin for that really weird 4-0 loss that we did suffer earlier in the season. This time, though, back at our home ground. So thankfully, 3 quite important points there. Then we took on Fortuna Dusseldorf, who are well and truly inside of the top half of the table. Picked up a 2-1 win again with the 4-2-3-1. Just after halftime, Max Meyer came on and picked up a goal, and then Racine Bullock with a header, which was good because they did grab one back there with 5 minutes to go from a free kick, but thankfully do enough there to pick up a win in Dusseldorf, and then a 2-0 win over Ingolstadt at the Jan Stadion Regensburg. Again, the goals coming in the second half through Charlie Allen and our new Georgian centre-back in Ruslan Ignatjev. So a really good run of form off the back of that change we did make late last week. That's the reason that we are now up in 8th. To be fair, not the biggest jump, but you'll notice there's a decent gap now between us in 8th and Dynamo Dresden down in 10th, that being 6 points, and certainly we should not be involved in a relegation battle with only 8 games left and a 19-point gap on Grufer first. So it's fair to say we're not going down to the Free Liga, so that will keep the board happy. But we're only 8 points off of Nuremberg, and we've got this game in hand. First up in today's episode, where we do take on Magdeburg, who of course is the team that I took on during the winter break, to see which of these tactics might actually work once we did come back. So we'll see if that actually holds true here when we take these guys on again. Early this season, these guys were actually right up there before the winter break, up around 2nd. They have now dropped down, though, a little bit closer to the prediction of 9th, but still doing quite well in 6th, albeit their recent form actually not that great. A 3-0 loss to Nuremberg and a 1-0 away at Dynamo Dresden. So hopefully, with our good recent form and their form slightly on the decline, this might be a game we can win, albeit for the first time in quite a while. This is an opposition who do suit us playing with a 4-4-2, so we'll see how it goes. It's the first time we've actually tried this shape since we put it out for the first bit of that Holstein Kiel game. Go to the right screen, Sean. There it is there, where we eventually did switch to the 4-2-3-1 and did look a heck of a lot better. So hopefully this time around a 4-4-2 might work. Let's bring up here our friendlies, and you'll see we did pick up with the 4-4-2, a 2-1 win before returning from that winter break. So hopefully can do something similar here, albeit this time we are away from home, and keep up this good run of form leading in to this international break. before we come back for that Mines game, which could be quite winnable if those guys continue their poor run of form. In terms of injuries going into today's episode, there are a couple. Christian VA has got a cold, unfortunately, is going to miss this first game just one day too late for him. So unfortunately, our first choice right back is not available. And also Justin Hubner is out with a bruised head that he suffered in training. Not too sure how you bruise your head randomly. Maybe a poor header there from our centre back, but unfortunately he's out for 1 to 2 days, albeit recently we have been using as a first choice Carstens over him anyway, and his form has been quite good, so I don't think we'll miss anything there. He actually has been quite good the last couple of episodes when we've used him. Also, have been trying out Schoenfelder and Meyer at left wing, because Issa Abbas, honestly, hasn't been that great this season. Also, he's just coming back from a recent injury, averaging a 6.58. But for this game, we're going with a 4-4-2. So it does mean our bench balance is a little bit different coming up from the B team race. That's because of the injury to VA and also Simon Kojic just to play as an extra advanced forward, seeing as Charlie Allen can do a job for us as a deep lying forward if we need him to. So it does mean for this game, Aaron Ramsey not actually in the lineup, because Manrique can do a pretty good job as an advanced playmaker alongside Racine Bullock. So we'll see here how we get on with this 4-4-2. A little bit nervous because it's definitely the least used of our Buxton bases so far since we made that switch at the end of last week, but fingers crossed it works and we continue this good little run of form that we are in. So fingers crossed here, this will pay off. Kojic, he needs a number. I think these days we've only got one, but Innocente isn't actually playing for the first team. So let's actually give Kojic here number 29 and get through here to the pre-match team talk. Let's see how we can fire these guys up to hopefully make it. I think this would be about 4 or 5 wins in a row. Certainly our best run ever since we've got here to Jan Regensburg. And this certainly would help us out because if Magdeburg pick up a win here, they'd then join the team currently in third on 49 points. It would be quite useful if we can pick up a win in this game. We want to play well in every match, and we hopefully will be fine without Christian VA. If we have to make a sub, though, at right back, that might be a little bit of an issue. So Pal Fernandez there at right back, arguably Carstens for Hubner, albeit I think that one not too bad, and that change at left wing, but that is because of form. And also, we do have our 2 strikers up front. Walden there as a deep lying forward, alongside Leighton Stewart, who, to be fair, has found some goal scoring form off the back of the end of last week. He's actually been quite good since we switched here to the slightly up-tempo Buxton base. We'll see here how we get on. We commit a foul early, to be fair. We are picking up quite a few yellow cards here with this tactic. We put a ball there far post. In fact, sorry, that was Magdeburg. There was no one anywhere near where that ball went, so I didn't actually see what happened there. Bit of pushing the back, so unfortunately better up here. We'll get a chance to open the scoring from the spot. Still not too sure why we did that, but Lukic for the second time in a row comes up with a penalty save. So he has picked up some good form. We definitely won't remove Get Stuck in. Still not too sure actually why that foul was given away. It seemed pretty random from the situation we were in, but no, they've scored a goal. Jason Secker with a wonderful curving effort, and we concede anyway. So unfortunately, that penalty save from Lukic, it doesn't really help us out too much, because they score anyway. To be fair, it's a tight angle. He gets this ball back off the back of the Manrique tackle and just sneaks it inside that left-hand upright. So hopefully we'll find a way to bounce back from this, but it's not been a good start, really. Not too sure if the 4-4-2 actually suits us that much, because we'd have to change to the 4-2-3-1 in that Holstein Kiel game, and it did make a big difference. We'll encourage here, and hopefully this formation is going to work as it should do here against this Magdeburg team, because Data Hub said this is the formation that they're most vulnerable to facing. We'll see though if that indeed is the case, or if we should just go back to the 4-2-3-1, but that would be a bit of a waste of a sub if we do that. And a good chance there for Saker, who's causing us all sorts of issues down that right-hand side. Thankfully this time Lukic comes up with a save, but early stages not looking too good here. Let's demand more. If we can keep this at 1-0 going into half-time, it won't be too bad if we need to make a switch. But Hamburger there with a free kick, unfortunately, just can't quite keep that one down enough, and it's still 1-0 here to Magdeburg. We are now starting to create chances. To be fair, with all the formations we've used for this tactic, we can be a little bit of a slow starter, so 1-0 would not be too bad. Maybe the deep lying forward actually is the role that might need a little bit of a change, or even the deep lying playmaker. Walden there really should have got a foot in that one, and unfortunately now Magdeburg are on the attack. If they make this 2-0, then certainly going to need a change here at half-time. Nice string back there from Walden, but can't quite keep the ball. We now try and put pressure here. A good foot in that was from Schoenfelder, but unfortunately Magdeburg just able here to keep hold of the ball. A good chance there for Art, but thankfully that one comes off the woodwork. We'll get into half-time 1-0 down, and definitely going to make some changes here. Schoenfelder on a bit of a deep yellow heart, so Maxmeyer can come on for him now. Lewis Walden, not too sure about that deep lying forward. Maybe we try pressing forward on support with him, because of course a couple of episodes ago, I think it was when we switched to a gegenpress, he started to do quite well as a pressing forward on support. So maybe that's what we need here with this tactic alongside Stewart as the advanced forward as per usual. And we'll see if that gets us going here early stage of the second half. A few other players out there on 6.5s, but honestly, not the type of players I want to take off there, and Hamburger especially, as he's quite good as that wing back on attack, as well as Teshi as that winger. Down our right hand side, indeed, we are here with our tempo on standard, which is checking that, seeing as we haven't used this 4-4-2 too much off the back of that Holstein Kiel defeat, but we'll tell the guys here, really in the position that we deserve to be. Let's try and pick things up in the second half. So hopefully that switch of Walden to a pressing forward, that might pay off. And also Max Meyer has been some good bench impact, but now Racine Bullock picks up a yellow card, and also Teshi at right wing not going too well, and Hamburger. So to be fair, might be time for us here to make our last couple of subs. Of course though, if we don't want to play with a 4-2-3-1 later, Walden, that makes things a bit more interesting. So because of that, I'm actually going to leave on Teshi for the moment, just for another 10 or so minutes, and then we can then make a sub if I feel like we need to switch to something like the 4-2-3-1. We'll take off Bullock though on that yellow card for Facundo Garcia. So a couple of subs here of players who are struggling. Let's hope we find a way here to grab an equaliser. Unfortunately, not much happening for us here so far in this second half. We'll give it another few minutes. And yeah, Richmond Tashi isn't going too well. Stats-wise, we've not been too bad, but with 20 to go, I think we're going to switch here to the 4-2-3-1. It's been the formation that's been working for us pretty well recently. Walden can go to right winger because he's going okay, and we'll bring on Charlie Allen in that advanced playmaker role. Let's see if the 4-2-3-1 might work. It definitely should be a 4-4-2 that does the trick against this Magdeburg team, but unfortunately, that's not been the case today. That penalty we gave away, unfortunately, they did score off the back of that through Seiko. So we'll see here if going to a 4-2-3-1 will work. Unfortunately, they've now got a corner, thankfully, headed away, but up here in a ton of space. Somehow, they get a shot off there through Max Basukcho, and that makes it 2-0 right off the back of going to the 4-2-3-1. I don't know if it's helped, so unfortunately, might be on here for one of only 2 defeats since we made that switch at the end of last week and have done it properly. Not me just going gung-ho with a 4-4-2 from the get-go, because this time it was actually supposed to suit. We'll demand more and see maybe if something happens late on here in this game. But I'm actually thinking now maybe we might as well go back to the 4-4-2. Charlie Allen can do a job as a deep lying forward, so that's the reason that I did think we'd bring him on there, and we can still use Walden outright. He's not that suited to it, but I think he can do a job there. Maybe we'll just see what the difference is between him and Allen. Allen might be a little bit better as a winger on attack. So we'll go back here to the 4-4-2 and just see if something happens. Also, we'll up the tempo and actually be more expressive late on in this game. Get the goalkeeper to distribute quickly. And while we're here, let's go a bit wider and actually chuck here Fernandez onto attack as well. May as well go pretty close to all our attack late on in this game, because unfortunately, doesn't look like we'll pick up the win in this one. Let's see if we can find a way to turn it around somewhat and get this quite close late on. But unfortunately, we haven't quite found a way to make this 4-4-2 work like the other formations that I have tried stats-wise. We've really been better, to be fair. Their XG did get bumped up by that penalty, but unfortunately, this one might need some adjusting. The 4-4-2 that we're using, we suffer a defeat there at Magdeburg, and really, that could be a pretty big blow in our hopes of trying to make our way up through that promotion relegation game to the Bundesliga. So unfortunately, a bit of a poor display there. We can see the goal off the back of the penalty, which was well saved there by Lukic, clearly our best player in that game, but then conceded right off the back of going the 4-2-3-1 there through Max off the back of a corner. So it's a pretty disappointing first game there in today's episode, but to be fair, apart from that little spell before halftime, it wasn't too great. It's definitely something that we saw at Buxton as well with this tactic when we used it with that slightly lower tempo. But the poor start there cost you, obviously giving away a penalty doesn't help. Still not too sure actually what that was for, but unfortunately wasn't a good performance from us there. We can land to the boys just a little bit, make our way through here to the post-match interview and click through it relatively quickly. Just a little bit disappointed there with how we did. Just performing that game, a bit of a letdown there with our 4-4-2, and it does now mean we've gone 9 points behind the team in third because Hanover picked up a 4-0 win over Paderborn. We're going to need to make up some pretty big ground now if we want to make our way into that promotion relegation spot, starting off with hopefully a win when we take on Mainz. So unfortunately, disappointing defeat for us first up there in today's episode. We've gone for about 2 weeks and played a friendly off camera, just to give our rotation players a bit of game time, and picked up a 4-0 win, albeit that was with a 4-2-3-1. And thankfully, that formation actually does suit our next opponent here in Mainz. As you'll see on this analyst report, it's definitely a formation I think we're a little bit better with here currently with this Jan Regensburg team, but Mainz are in some absolutely dreadful form coming into this game. They've not won in their last 5. This should be a team at home that really we can take some points off of, albeit we are coming to this game with, again, a little bit of an injury issue at centre-back. Unfortunately, the international break does mean that both Ruslan, who was away with Georgia, and also Justin Hubner, who was away with Indonesia, come to this one not on green hearts. Hubner, you'll see there, is on a really deep yellow heart, so he definitely can't play this game. Ruslan is not too bad. Unfortunately, also our third choice centre-back in Florian Carstens, he picked up a little bit of a knock, and that means that he's out for 2 days. So it does mean we're on our 4th and 5th choice centre-backs here for this game that we're going to play in Subotic and Rente. But apart from that, it's our first choice 11, Aaron Ramsey. We potentially could start to actually give some game time to there in attacking midfield. Let's just see if he's a bit more familiar. And he's not too bad. He's a little bit injury prone, but honestly, this late in the season, he's going a little bit better than Charlie Ellen. Maybe we try Aaron Ramsey for this game where we take on Mainz, but definitely need to win this one if we want any hopes of keeping ourselves in the slight picture, try and get up to the Bundesliga for next season. A little bit disappointing now that we didn't switch to the Buxton base a little bit sooner, but fingers crossed here we can finish the season strongly, figure out what we're going into the next season, and then make a good tilted, especially as there'll be some players here that the previous manager signed that I can now get rid of going to our second season here at Jan Regensburg. All this, of course, on the premise that another team doesn't come after us, and they do look a bit better, because beefy Jan Regensburg in hindsight might not have been the best idea with that prediction of them finishing 18th in this 2 Bundesliga last season and 16th this year, albeit those January transfers we did do mean that's now gone up to 13th, but still, they weren't a team with super high expectations. Hopefully next season that might change. We'll tell the media here we want to keep scoring goals and do so first. And let's have a look here at the team sheets. We're going with that 4-2-3-1 Aaron Ramsey. His first start in a competitive game since we signed him. That was on deadline day with extra wage money from those sales we made. And also that actually came because we told the board that would avoid relegation. So a little bit of a bump up there to our wage budget is how we're able to get Aaron Ramsey over the line. It looks like Mainz here are going with a 4-3-3 today. We are in the white with the red, and Mainz, they are in those dark uniforms with the red trim. So fingers crossed here, we'll still be solid defensively despite those changes we've been forced into off the back of the international break. Also, Facundo Garcia actually in defensive midfield. That's because Racine Bullock is out for suspension from that yellow card he picked up in that loss to Magdeburg. But unfortunately, mine so far on the front foot. If our form all of a sudden turns to poop, that'll be kind of random with how good we're looking going to the start of today's episode. Richmond Tashi on a little bit there of an orange injury. We'll try and nurse him through here to half-time, but so far, this not going too well. Now, Facundo Garcia on a deep red hat, so maybe we'll make some subs off the back of this first highlights. 10 minutes shy of half-time, so it's taken a fair while for this to come through. Jekyll is on the ball, and unfortunately, Subotic there with a poor idea. It's terrible defence. He's also on a yellow card. That international break might prove costly to any hopes we had of going up at the end of the season. To be fair, They weren't there for too long, but Subotic there with some shocking defence. It's a wonderful finish, but still, that's not too great. So I think here that we do consider making some subs, albeit now thrown for us here inside the final third. Hamburger to Schoenfelder. Ramsey plays that one out there to VA. Fingers crossed we now score from this because it looks a little bit dodgy. Why we didn't take on the shot there, Ramsey? An interesting idea at this point. May as well make our way through all the way to halftime. But unfortunately, not a good first half from us. Yet against, for some reason, I've turned on OBS and our form has gone to poop, and we need to make quite a few subs here. Both our centre-backs sitting on yellow cards. Subotic will come off. We might have to bring on here Ruslan, even though he is on a heavy workload. And also Marco Rente will take off for Pau Fernandez. Also Richmond Tashi, an orange injury, will bring on Lewis Walden for him. So that means that Leighton Stewart will actually stay out there despite the fact he's not playing too well. And for Kundo Garcia today, it will be Andreas Geipel who comes on for him. Otherwise, we probably don't want to make too many more subs because we've only got one left for the remainder of the second half. So fingers crossed that as well as a bit of a rev up we'll give these guys at halftime might be the difference maker in this one, as it'd be pretty disappointing to drop some points here at home even with that makeshift defence that we did put out for that first half. So we'll tell the guys I'm not angry, just disappointed. Let's hope that that gets something out of them. Not too sure there why the team talk is completely different. The option I clicked on, that's a bit interesting, but I am disappointed in that first half. We've been outplayed there by Mines, albeit our XG actually not too bad. But yeah, pretty disappointing. Leighton Stewart now down to a 6.3, as is Schoenfelder. We'll give them till the hour mark, but it looks like maybe Max Meyer might come on here with our final sub. Indeed, that's what we'll do in that left wing position. And maybe also we consider going to a higher tempo. We might actually leave that for another 10 or so minutes just in case we do need to grab a goal late. But a bit disappointing, these performances off the back of some great form we did have going in to today's episode. So not too sure where this form slumps came from, to be fair, taking on some decent teams. So I suppose it makes sense, but still Mines here came into this game in some pretty awful form. But here was a chance for us there to put that ball far post, albeit that's a poor giveaway. A shocking back pass there to the goalkeeper in Zentner, and Stewart's in the right place, right time to put that one away. He was sitting on a 6.3. That will turn that around. I thought that ball there might be quite handy, but Balde, that's an absolutely woeful pass. What's he thinking? And Leighton Stewart can make the most of it. So thankfully, we now have a chance to get something out of this game. Will encourage. It does mean now that his rating shouldn't be so bad. Aaron Ramsey drops down to red heart. Fingers crossed he won't get injured. Of course, no subs left for us here because all those we had to make at halftime when we were struggling, about to make our way to the final 10 minutes. I'm going to up our tempo, just see if there's a way here we can get something more out of this game. Also, we might even try play a little bit wider and get our goalkeeper to distribute quickly. Won't do too much here because a point's not awful, but it would be great to get the 3 points out of this game and then maybe just keep our slim hopes of getting to that promotion relegation game for the Bundesliga alive. But certainly off the back of going to this Buxton base, a lot less draws, which does mean we're picking up a lot more points now. We float this one far post, looking for Stewart, can't find it, but Hamburger does get on the ball. Myra, I thought they might get brought down. A long range effort, which to be fair, not too far away there. I think that might have been through Geipel. Unfortunately, not quite on target. We're about to make our way here into injury time. Will encourage. We'll go attacking very late, but not too hard. Just see if we get the chance to pick up all 3 points from this game. And then XG-wise, that's a game we've absolutely dominated. But the goal that we scored was pretty fortunate. So a bit of a weird one for us there, second up in today's episode. Thankfully, Mines' form, it continues to be pretty poor. But really, that's a big missed opportunity for us to pick up 3 points. Unfortunately, Subotic there with a terrible first half. The previous manager, yeah, don't think you should have signed him because he does not look very good at all. That was a costly mistake. Otherwise, we might have got something from that game. To be fair, a defensive mistake from each team did lead to the goals in that game. But stats-wise, that's one that we really should have won. Definitely looking better here with the 4-3-3 and the 4-2-3-1 than our 4-4-2 at the moment. We'll tell the guys, just didn't quite go our way tonight. Stats-wise, we should have probably picked up a win in that game, get through the post-match interview, but thankfully we don't have one. We're 8 points away from the team in third spot, but they've still got to play their game here on this match day. So we'll sim forward and see what we come back for in tomorrow's episode, because there might still be a very slim chance that we could sneak up to third, depending on how we get on before those last couple of games of the season. So off the back of some really good form coming to today's episode, unfortunately not too great there, just 1 point from those 2 games having to come from behind there to pick up a point against Mainz, and it does mean now we're 10 points behind both Nuremberg and Magdeburg with 6 games left in the season. So honestly, not too sure if we can close that gap. So I think probably some mid to upper table obscurity for us here this season in our first one with Jan Regensburg. If only we sorted out that tactic a little bit sooner, could have changed some of those draws into wins, and maybe we'd be a little bit closer. Because honestly, considering how poor we were for a good chunk of the season, we're doing quite well, but definitely not going to get relegated. We're 18 points clear with only 6 games left, and there's no chance that we don't pick up a point in those last couple of games, because there's some games here we really should get good points out of. Gruppetfurth away, I'll be disappointed if we didn't win that one. Kaiserslautern and Darmstadt at home as well as Paderborn. Those last 3 home games should be bankers. So really, the only difficult games left are the away ones, St. Pauli and Hanover. But to be fair, by that stage, not too sure if there'll be much riding on those 2 games. Also, a little bit surprised at the start of April there's still not been a youth intake, so probably going to have to cover that off in the next episode as well. But we'll come back for something tomorrow, probably wrapping up our first season here at Jan Regensburg, and then we'll make our way through the off-season and see if we're still here, if we get some job interview offers, and what we can do with the transfer budget, albeit I'm not too sure if it will be too good, because the money has gone down quite considerably during our first season. Not too sure how that's happened. But yes, that might be a little bit of an issue with the transfer budget that we will get come the end of this season. But that will do it for today's episode. As I said, unfortunately, some pretty average results for us there in the 2 Bundesliga, probably ending our slim hopes of going up to the Bundesliga for next season. But if you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Until tomorrow, we will come back for 1 or 2 games, depending on if we still have a very slim chance of going up to the Bundesliga, but probably we might play Paderborn and then do the end of season review and see how much money we have to spend in the transfer window. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.